All right, Shalom. You reached the He Prayed channel, and my name is Isaac Mawath. But first and foremost, I want to say, call Halayim Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shai Bahashem HarakakWadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of 7:13:19, where I learned this truth from, who rule well. Salutations to the Backyard, the elect, 144,000. It's 12,000 men from each of the 12 tribes of Israel. 12 tribes of Israel consist of you so-called blacks, Latinos, and indigenous of America. The 144,000 being the governing body within the one-third. The rest of the one-third comprises of elect men, women, and children. Shalom to those Israelites scattered due to the diaspora and also the triangle of trade. So our people will come looking like different ethnicities, having various complexions. So it's not a black thing. We're not the black Hebrew Israelites. We're just Hebrew Israelites. Shalom to those that died in this truth. It says the dead should be raised up first. Those that will be accompanying Yahweh Shah on his return, including our King, King Mashah, who is King David. It's always honor and privilege, honor and blessing to continue to do this work. The water Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shah Ba'ashem HarakakWadash for answering my prayers and permitting me to do such. Baba Kashaya Ba'ashem Yahweh Shah Ba'ashem HarakakWadash allowed us to be an edifying lesson to at least one member of the elect. Now this topic is something I was thinking about and going into when I had some downtime at work. So, without further ado, I'm going to read the scriptures and I'm going to go back to AI. The scripture for this topic is going to be Revelation chapter 16, verse 13. And I saw 3 unclean spirits like frogs come out of the mouth of the dragon, which is ESAU, also Roman Empire, the ancient Roman Empire, right? It says, and out of the mouth of the beast, which the beast is those vassal states, also today known as NATO and the EU. It says, and out of the mouth of the false prophet. The false prophet is the pagan Roman Catholic Church, also the Vatican. So let's go to AI. So we're going to study the word frogs, because I was wondering, is there a deeper meaning? Because when you go to the word frogs, is referring to as a literal frog, right? But there's something about a frog that just ain't literal. There's a deeper meaning to why these certain institutions, which are those 3 unclean spirits, are likened onto frogs. So this is the blue letter.
Strong's G 944. Batrachas. Batrachas.
For frogs, right? So word study frogs, Greek, brathakos. Frogs in scripture equals unclean, chaotic, intrusive. I haven't came across that word intrusive. I think it means invading. But let's see. This is intrusive adjective from 14th century. Usurping, you know, and that's basically what Esau has done. Usurped the Israelites, the true judges of the earth. Goes into that in, I believe, the book of Sirach or Ecclesiasticus, the 12th chapter. Never trust thy enemy. It says from late intruse past participle stem of intruder. See intrusion plus Ive, meaning coming unbidden, you know, and that's pretty much what Esau does all around the world. He's coming into these foreign countries, these foreign nations, unbidden, uninvited. Also, geological sense, thrust in, out of regular place, you know. Uh, so it says frogs are listed among the unclean creeping things. And for the truth's sake, we can go there. So, these institutions are acting as unclean beasts. And, the brother in LA, Mayaka Allah, broke down that word beast in Revelation, which means bestial. I could just do that. So I don't have to just skim through it. Let me see. Guess I gotta do it the old fashioned way. Let's see. I think it says specifically here. But I'll start at verse 11. Chapter 11, verse 27, because it goes into like amphibious and reptilian animals. So it's in like the same category as a frog, right? Which a lot of you jakes out there, you love frogs. You love frog legs. Which, I never had that shit. It wasn't something that was ever on my palate, you know. But this is Leviticus chapter 11, verse 27. It says, and whatsoever goeth upon his paws, among all manner of beasts that go on all earth, on all four, which means dogs, cats, those are unclean unto you, because their flesh is toxic, and they cause disease, they cause, even death. So how about Shem Yahushua is protecting you from these creatures that are designed to do certain things, but not designed to be eaten for human consumption. It says, whosoever toucheth their carcass, their dead body, shall be unclean until the evening. And he that beareth the carcass of them shall wash his clothes, and be unclean until the even. They are unclean unto you. Because they have certain secretions, certain, probably respiratory systems that, secrete different toxins that are toxic to you. So I'm not going to go deep into it. But continuing, it says, these also shall be unclean unto you among the creeping things that creep upon the earth, the weasel and the mouse and the tortoise after his kind, and the ferret and the chameleon and the lizard and the snail and the mole. These are unclean to you among all that creep. Whosoever doth touch them when they be dead shall be unclean until even, because they're emitting toxicity into the environment, right? It says, and upon whatsoever any of them, when they are dead, doth fall, it shall be unclean, whether it be any vessel of wood, or raiment, or skin, or sack, whatsoever vessel it be, wherein any work is done, it must be put into water, and it shall be unclean until the even, so it shall be cleansed. Right? So it doesn't say specifically, but it lists species in the same category, right? Let me see. So continuing, it says they appear in Exodus chapter 8, where the plague of frogs overwhelms Martazarium or Mizraim, baiting houses, beds, ovens, kneading throws. Frogs equal invasive, disruptive, everywhere they shouldn't be. And that's Esau, man. The word invasive. It's tending to invade, aggressive, right? They aggressively invade these foreign countries, trying to set their agendas, right? It says go into, attack, invade, you know, just as the frogs did in the time of Martazarium as being a plague, because Esau, he's really the plague of the earth. Symbolic meaning in biblical and ancient Near Eastern symbolism, frogs represent unclean spirits, noisy, empty, repetitive speech, mockery, chaos, false prophecy, right? Imitation of real communication, noise pretending to be a message. So the things that come out of these devil's mouth is basically just noise, and falsehoods and untruths. Mind you, they are estranged from the womb, as soon as they be born, speaking lies. Not quoting verbatim, but this is a Greek cultural layer, important for Revelation's context. In Greek literature, frog croaking, which is the topic, the underlying topic of this video is croaking, was used to symbolize anti-logos, speech without truth or order, meaningless chatter, disruption of righteous speech, comic mockery. This aligns with the prophetic symbolism. Frogs equal counterfeit speech that imitates truth but carries deception. And that's Esau in his system, man. And why does it imitate truth? Because you have to know the truth in order to tell a lie, right? The croaking, symbolism of their voice, right? Croaking equals loud but meaningless. Frogs don't sing, they croak. Croaking is repetitive, annoying, intrusive, empty, deceptive. Sounds like communication but carries no truth. And that's Esau, man. In prophetic language, croaking equals false doctrine, propaganda, lies, deceptive messaging, false righteousness, counterfeit authority, you know? And they're all about false doctrine. They pumping you with propaganda. They're all full of lies. Their ways are deceptive, and they push their deceptive messaging, and it's all false righteousness. They want you to believe that they're the good guys, and they teach their children this. So let's go to Jeremiah chapter 23, verse 16. It says, "Thus saith Yahweh of armies, hearken not unto the words of the prophets that prophesy unto you." And that includes these heathen nations, man. Not just, these individuals that are Israelites, but also these heathen nations. It says they make you vain. They speak a vision of their own heart, which is your mind, and not out of the mouth of Yahweh. And that's Esau to the T. He's speaking out of his own heart. He's speaking out of his own mind. He has his own vision that doesn't align with the vision of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushua, Ba'ashem Harakakadash. Right? This is Psalms chapter 58, and I'll start at the top. It says, "Prayer for the punishment of the wicked," which the wicked are you Edomites, so-called white people, started calling yourselves white in 1681 due to the Bacon rebellions. Verse 1, it says, to the chief musician, Altashith Miktam of David, do you indeed speak righteousness? Going back to croaking. You know, that's the voice of a frog. It croaks. So it's asking the question, are you speaking righteousness? And the answer is no. O congregation, which meaning gathering, do you judge uprightly, O ye sons of men? So are they actually judging in justice and fairness and equity? No, they're not righteous judges. Verse 2, it says, yeah, in heart ye work wickedness. You weigh the violence of your hands in the earth. The wicked are estranged from the womb. They go astray as soon as they be born, speaking lies. Right? Do something real quick. If it, oh yeah, so try it again. Do it the old-fashioned way, since this shit is tripping. So it says, yeah, in heart you work wickedness, which, like I said, is your mind equal inner reasoning intent. David is saying that wickedness is not accidental or reactive. It is engineered internally. So they can't help not being wicked, man. This is premeditated evil, not circumstantial sin. Their moral compass is inverted. Wickedness is their default operating system. Ye weigh the violence of your hands. Weigh equals to measure, calculate, determine. Violence is not random. It is deliberate, strategic, and justified in their own system. They rationalize oppression. They legislate it. They institutionalize it. So, jumping down, the wicked are estranged from the womb. Estranged equals alienated, separated, set apart from righteousness. So there's no way this damn devil could do good. This is not about literal infants committing sin. It's about nature, lineage, and spiritual identity. David is describing a category of people whose disposition is opposed to righteousness from the start. Their nature is out of alignment with truth, right? Um, it says their poison is like the poison of a serpent. They are like the deaf adder that stoppeth her ear, which adder is also a snake, meaning they ain't trying to hear your grievances. So it says within the flow of the chapter, this means their words, judgments, and intentions are harmful, deadly, and corrupting. Just as a serpent venom works internally, Their wickedness spreads through society, institutions, and relationships. The metaphor ties directly to verse 2. You weigh the violence of your hands in the earth. Their influence is toxic on a structural level. Let's see. They are like the deaf adder that stoppeth her ear. This image builds on the previous one. A deaf adder is a snake that refuses to respond to charmers. The wicked are portrayed as willfully unresponsive to correction, truth, or righteousness. They block out any voice that will restrain them, whether moral instruction, divine law, or wise counsel. Which it says these rulers cannot be persuaded to do right. They choose not to hear. Their deafness is moral, not physical. Right? Let's go to the book of Sirach and the Apocrypha or Ecclesiasticus, chapter 21. I believe it was verse 7, 27. It says, when the ungodly curseth Satan, right? He curseth his own soul. And Esau is the ungodly, man. It's see what Copilot says. So it says the surrounding theme, the ungodly expose themselves. The entire chapter builds a pattern. The ungodly hate correction, and this ties to Israelites too. They cannot hold wisdom. Their speech is reckless. Their heart is in their mouth. Their actions defile their own soul. So what it means to curse Satan in this context of the chapter, curse means to speak rashly, to blame, to condemn, to invoke evil against someone. But here's the key. The ungodly person is not speaking from righteousness. Their curse is not a holy rebuke. It's just another expression of their own corrupt nature. While cursing Satan backfires on the ungodly. The verse says that when the ungodly curse Satan, they actually curse their own soul. Why? Because they share the same spirit and behavior described earlier in the chapter. Their life aligns with wickedness, not with the Most High's law. Their mouth exposes their heart. Their speech brings judgment on themselves. In other words, the ungodly cannot condemn evil without condemning themselves because they participate in the same evil. So when you align these people with the scriptures, you see that they are the wicked. Real quick, this is St. Matthew chapter 15, verse 11. It says, a man is not defiled by what enters his mouth, but by what comes out of it, because what comes out of it is what you really think. Mark 7:15, nothing that enters a man from the outside can defile him, but the things that come out of a man, these are what defile him. Right? So these people are defiled. Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 1, verse 11. It says, therefore beware of murmuring, which is unprofitable, and refrain your tongue from backbiting. For there is no word so secret that shall go forth for naught, because the angels carry your words. Those are the birds. In the mouth that belieth slayeth the soul. Right? So, continuing in co-pilot, it says the frogs represent unclean spirits whose croaking is the propaganda, doctrine, policies, and deceptive messaging of the system. They imitate righteousness but spread confusion, disorder, and rebel against the Most High. The three sources: dragon, beast, false prophet. So one, the dragon's mouth, which is, it talks about the teeth, to break the teeth, which the teeth is, it's military, right? Esau's military break. Same chapter, Psalms 58, verse 6, it says, break their teeth, O power, in their mouth. Break out the great teeth of the young lions, O Yahweh, which is symbolizes their military power, right? So establishment, construction began September 11th, 1941. So they reused the 9/11 theme again in 2001. It says, and completed January 15th, 1943. Built rapidly during World War II as the headquarters for the U.S. War Department, which it used to be called the Defense Department, became a global symbol of military command and strategic power. Symbolic role represents military enforcement, global policing, and hard power. Its croaking equals military narratives, justifications for war, national security rhetoric. All right. So the dragon's mouth equals the military arm of the system, which is the Washington, D.C. Pentagon, speaking through war doctrine, military propaganda, and global enforcement. Right. The beast mouth, financial power, background on London's finance sector in the crown. Because that's where he controls, the monetary system. It says, why it is a global financial hub. London is one of the top global financial centers, often ranked number one worldwide. The UK is the world's highest net exporter of financial services. Its time zone and light regulations make it ideal for global banking. Houses elite banking networks and centuries-old financial institutions. Symbolic role represents economic control, banking power, monetary influence, and global trade dominance. Its croaking equals financial policy, economic narratives, market manipulations, because the system is rigged, debt-based systems, right? The beast mouth equals the economic arm of the system, speaking through banking policy, global finance, and economic doctrine. The false prophet's mouth, religious power, which is the pagan Roman Catholic Church, or the Vatican, you could say. Historical influence. The Vatican's authority traces back to early Christianity and the martyrdom of Peter. Began a sovereign state in 1929, Lateran Treaty. Let's look that up. So, Lateran Treaty was one component of the Lateran Pacts of 1929. Agreements between Italy under King Victor Emmanuel III and Prime Minister Benito Mussolini and the Holy See under Pope Pius XI, and to settle the long-standing Roman question. The treaty, which the Roman question was a dispute regarding the temporal power of the popes as rulers of a civil territory in the context of Italian res orgamento. Continuing, it says the treaty and associated pacts were named after the Lateran Palace, where they were signed on 11th February 1929. The Italian Parliament ratified them on the 7th of June 1929. The treaty recognized Vatican City as an independent state under the sovereignty of the Holy See. Italy also agreed to give the Catholic Church financial compensation for the loss of the Papal States. In 1948, the Lateran Treaty was recognized in the Constitution of Italy as regulating the relations between the Italian Republic and the Catholic Church. While the treaty was significantly revised in 1984, ending the status of Catholicism as the sole state region or as the sole state religion of Italy, the Vatican remains a distinct sovereign entity to this present day. You know, going back to Copilot says holds massive diplomatic influence and soft power worldwide, acts as a moral voice for over 1 billion followers, and also that's where you get Christianity and Islam from. The Vatican. You know, mind you, it says the Vatican's authority traces back to early Christianity and the martyrdom of Peter. Right. Political and spiritual influence plays a major role in global diplomacy and international relations, historically shaped European politics and global religious thought. Symbolic role represents religious authority, spiritual influence, moral justification, and doctrinal control. Its croaking equals religious decrees, uh, ecumenical movements, moral narratives that support the system. The false prophet's mouth equals the religious arm of the system, speaking through doctrine, moral authority, and spiritual influence. So, three mouths, or the three unclean spirits out of the mouth of the beast, right, is the military, force intimidation, war doctrine, which is the Washington, D.C., the Pentagon, financial, which is London, Economic control, banking doctrine, the Vatican, which is the religion, spiritual influence, moral doctrine. Three frogs equals three deceptive spirits. Each one croaks its own version of false righteousness, false authority, false peace, false order, false truth. Together they form the croaking chorus of the system. Their combined messaging imitates truth, sounds authoritative, spreads deception, prepares the world for conflict, aligns nations under an undefiled or slakia, aligns nations under a unified false system, which is going to be the NWO. Right? Frogs equals unclean spirits representing deceptive speech. Their croaking equals propaganda, false doctrine, and counterfeit truth. Right? So, everything that's coming out of this damn devil is so-called white man, Esau, is being revealed, man. And that's why he's trying to, shut down the internet and persecute, the truth, which is all prophetic anyway. So really doesn't matter. He's not going to win. So with that, I hope at least one brother of the elect was edified. And I'm going to say, shalom.